Act 1. Scene 1. Troy before Priam's palace. Enter Troilus armed and Pandarus. Troilus. Chapter 100. All hear my varlet, I'll unarm again. Why should I war without the walls of Troy? That finds such cruel battle here within. Each Trojan that is master of his heart. Chapter 50. Edim to field, Troilus alas hath none. Pandarus. Will this gear ne'er be mended? Troilus. The Greeks are strong and skillful to their strength, fierce to their skill and to their fierceness valiant. But I am weaker than a woman's tear, tamer than sleep, fonder than ignorance. Chapter 50. Valiant than the virgin in the night, and skillless as unpracticed infancy. Pandarus. Well, I have told you enough of this. For my part, I'll not meddle nor make no farther. He that will have a cake out of the wheat must tarry the grinding. Troilus. Have I not tarried? Pandarus. I the grinding, but you must tarry the bolting. Troilus. Have I not tarried? Pandarus. I the bolting, but you must tarry the leavening. Troilus. Still have I tarried. Pandarus. I to the leavening, but here's yet in the word, hereafter the kneading, the making of the cake, the heating of the oven, and the baking. Nay, you must stay the cooling too, or you may chance burn your lips. Troilus. Patience herself, what goddess ere she be. Chapter 500. Oth lesser blenchet sufferance than I do. At Priam's royal table do I sit. And when fair Cressida comes into my thoughts, so traitor, when she comes, when she is thence. Pandarus. Well, she looked yesternight fairer than ever I saw her look, or any woman else. Troilus. Chapter 1 was about to tell thee, when my heart, as wedged with a sigh, would rive in twain. Chapter 50. Est Hector or my father should perceive me. Chapter 1. Have, as when the sun doth light a storm, buried this sigh in wrinkle of a smile, but sorrow that is couched in seeming gladness. Chapter 1. Like that mirth fate turns to sudden sadness. Pandarus. And her hair were not somewhat darker than Helen's, well, go to, there were no more comparison between the women. But for my part, she is my kinswoman. I would not, as they term it, praise her, but I would somebody had heard her talk yesterday, as I did. I will not dispraise your sister Cassandra's wit, but Troilus. O Pandarus, I tell thee, Pandarus, when I do tell thee there my hopes lie drowned. Reply not in how many fathoms deep. They lie indrenched, I tell thee I am mad. Chapter 1. Cressida's love, thou answerst she is fair. Pourst in the open ulcer of my heart. Her eyes, her hair, her cheek, her gait, her voice. Handlest in thy discourse, oh, that her hand. Chapter 1. Whose comparison all whites are ink. Writing their own reproach, to whose soft seizure the signet's down is harsh and spirit of sense. Hard as the palm of plowman, this thou tell'st me. As true thou tell'st me, when I say I love her. But saying thus, instead of oil and balm, thou lay'st in every gash that love hath given me. The knife that made it. Pandarus. Chapter 1. Speak no more than truth. Troilus. Thou dost not speak so much. Pandarus. Faith, I'll not meddle in't. Let her be as she is, if she be fair, 'tis the better for her, and she be not, she has the mends in her own hands. Troilus. Good Pandarus, how now Pandarus? Pandarus. Chapter 1. Have had my labor for my travail, ill thought on of her and ill thought on of you, gone between and between, but small thanks for my labor. Troilus. What, art thou angry, Pandarus, what with me? Pandarus. Because she's kin to me, therefore she's not so fair as Helen. And she were not kin to me, she would be as fair on Friday as Helen is on Sunday. But what care I? I care not and she were a blackamoor, 'tis all one to me. Troilus, say I she is not fair. Pandarus, Chapter 1, do not care whether you do or no, she's a fool to stay behind her father. Let her to the Greeks, and so I'll tell her the next time I see her. For my part, I'll meddle nor make no more I the matter. Troilus, Pandarus, Pandarus, not I. Troilus, sweet Pandarus, Pandarus, pray you speak no more to me, I will leave all as I found it and there an end. Exit Pandarus and alarum. Troilus, peace, you ungracious clamors, peace, rude sounds. Fools on both sides, Helen must needs be fair. When with your blood you daily paint her thus. Chapter 1, cannot fight upon this argument. Chapter 1, T is too starved a subject for my sword. But Pandarus, O gods, how do you plague me? Chapter 1, cannot come to Cressida but by Pandar. And he's as tetchy to be wooed to woo, as she is stubborn chaste against all suit. Tell me, Apollo, for thy Daphne's love, what Cressida is, what Pandar and what we. Her bed is India, there she lies a pearl, between our Ilium and where she resides. Chapter 50, it be called the wild and wandering flood. Ourself the merchant, and this sailing Pandar. Our doubtful hope, our convoy in our bark. Alarum, enter Aeneas. Aeneas. How now, Prince Troilus, wherefore not afield? Troilus. Because not there, this woman's answer sorts. For womanish it is to be from thence. What news, Aeneas, from the field today? Aeneas. That Paris is returned home and hurt. Troilus. By whom, Aeneas? Aeneas. Troilus by Menelaus. Troilus. Chapter 50, et Paris bleed, 'tis but a scar to scorn. Paris is gored with Menelaus' horn. Aeneas. Hark what good sport is out of town today. Troilus. Better at home, if would I might were May. But to the sport abroad, are you bound thither? Aeneas. Chapter 1, in all swift haste. Troilus. Chapter 100, go we then together. Scene 2, Troy, a street. Enter Cressida and her man Alexander. Chapter 100, Ida. Who were those went by? Alexander. Queen Hecuba and Helen. Chapter 100, Ida. And whither go they? Alexander. Up to the eastern tower, whose height commands as subject all the vale. To see the battle, Hector whose patience. Chapter 1, as a virtue fixed today was moved. He chid Andromache and struck his armorer. And, like as there were husbandry in war, before the sun rose he was harnessed light. And to the field goes he, where every flower. Chapter 999, as a prophet weep what it foresaw. Chapter 1, in Hector's wrath. Chapter 100, Ida. What was his cause of anger? Alexander. The noise goes this, there is among the Greeks a lord of Trojan blood, nephew to Hector. They call him Ajax. Chapter 100, Ida. Good, and what of him? Alexander. They say he is a very man per se, and stands alone. Chapter 100, Ida. So do all men, unless they are drunk, sick, or have no legs. Alexander. This man, lady, hath robbed many beasts of their particular additions. He is as valiant as the lion, churlish as the bear, slow as the elephant, a man into whom nature hath so crowded humors that his valor is crushed into folly, his folly sauced with discretion. There is no man hath a virtue that he hath not a glimpse of, nor any man in a taint but he carries some stain of it. He is melancholy without cause and merry against the hair. He hath the joints of everything, but everything so out of joint that he is a gouty Briareus, many hands and no use, or purblind Argus, all eyes and no sight. Chapter 100, Ida. But how should this man, that makes me smile, make Hector angry? Alexander. They say he yesterday copped Hector in the battle and struck him down, the disdain and shame whereof hath ever since kept Hector fasting and waking. Enter Pandarus. Chapter 100, Ida. Who comes here? Alexander. Chapter 1000, Adam, your uncle Pandarus. Chapter 100, Ida. Hector's a gallant man. Alexander. As may be in the world, lady. Pandarus. What's that, what's that? Chapter 100, Ida. Good morrow, Uncle Pandarus. Pandarus. Good morrow, cousin Cressid, what do you talk of? Good morrow, Alexander. How do you, cousin, when were you at Ilium? Chapter 100, Ida. This morning, uncle. Pandarus. What were you talking of when I came? Was Hector armed and gone ere you came to Ilium? Helen was not up, was she? Chapter 100, Ida. Hector was gone, but Helen was not up. Pandarus. E'en so, Hector was stirring early. Chapter 100, Ida. That were we talking of, and of his anger. Pandarus. Was he angry? Chapter 100, Ida. So he says here. Pandarus. True, he was so, I know the cause too, he'll lay about him today, I can tell them that. And there's Troilus will not come far behind him, let them take heed of Troilus, I can tell them that too. Chapter 100, Ida. What is he angry to? Pandarus. Who, Troilus? Troilus is the better man of the two. Chapter 100, Ida. O Jupiter, there's no comparison. Pandarus. What, not between Troilus and Hector? Do you know a man if you see him? Chapter 100, Ida. I, if I ever saw him before and knew him. Pandarus. Well, I say Troilus is Troilus. Chapter 100, Ida. Then you say as I say, for I am sure he is not Hector. Pandarus. No, nor Hector is not Troilus in some degrees. Chapter 100, Ida. 'Tis just to each of them, he is himself. Pandarus. Himself, alas, poor Troilus, I would he were. Chapter 100, Ida. So he is. Pandarus. Chapter 100, Audition I had gone barefoot to India. Chapter 100, Ida. He is not Hector. Pandarus. Himself, no, he's not himself, widow were himself. Well, the gods are above, time must friend or end. Well, Troilus, well, I would my heart were in her body. No, Hector is not a better man than Troilus. Chapter 100, Ida. Excuse me. Pandarus. He is elder. Chapter 100, Ida. Pardon me, pardon me. Pandarus. Th others not come taught? You shall tell me another tale when th others come taught. Hector shall not have his wit this year. Chapter 100, Ida. He shall not need it if he have his own. Andarus. Nor his qualities. Chapter 100, Ida. No matter. Pandarus. Nor his beauty. Chapter 100, Ida. 'Twould not become him, his own's better. Pandarus. You have no judgment, niece. Helen herself swore th other day that Troilus, for a brown favor, for so tease I must confess, not brown neither. Chapter 100, Resida. No but browns. Pandarus. Faith to say truth, brown and not brown. Chapter 100, Resida. To say the truth, true and not true. Pandarus. She praised his complexion above Paris. Chapter 100, Resida. Why Paris hath color enough. Pandarus. So he has. Chapter 100, Resida. Then Troilus should have too much. If she praised him above, his complexion is higher than his, he having color enough, and the other higher, is too flaming a praise for a good complexion. I had as lief Helen's golden tongue had commended Troilus for a copper nose. Pandarus. Chapter 1, Swear to you I think Helen loves him better than Paris. Chapter 100, Resida. Then she's a merry Greek indeed. Pandarus. Nay, I am sure she does. She came to him th other day into the compassed window, and you know he has not passed 3 or 4 hairs on his chin. Chapter 100, Resida. Chapter 1, Indeed a tapster's arithmetic may soon bring his particulars therein to a total. Pandarus. Why, he is very young, and yet will he within 3 pound lift as much as his brother Hector. Chapter 100, Resida. Chapter 1, Is he so young a man and so old a lifter? Pandarus. But to prove to you that Helen loves him, she came and puts me her white hand to his cloven chin. Chapter 100, Resida. Juno have mercy, how came it cloven? Pandarus. Why, tease dimpled. I think his smiling becomes him better than any man in all Phrygia. Chapter 100, Resida. Oh, he smiles valiantly. Pandarus. Chapter 500, Owes he not? Chapter 100, Resida. Oh yes, and twere a cloud in autumn. Pandarus. Why go to then, but to prove to you that Helen loves Troilus. Chapter 100, Resida. Troilus will stand to the proof, if you'll prove it so. Pandarus. Troilus, why he esteems her no more than I esteem an addle egg. Chapter 100, Resida. Chapter 1, If you love an addle egg as well as you love an idle head, you would eat chickens ith shell. Pandarus. Chapter 1, Cannot choose but laugh to think how she tickled his chin. Indeed, she has a marvel's white hand, I must needs confess. Chapter 100, Resida. Without the rack. Pandarus. And she takes upon her to spy a white hair on his chin. Chapter 100, Resida. Alas, poor chin, many a ward is richer. Pandarus. But there was such laughing, Queen Hecuba laughed that her eyes ran o'er. Chapter 100, Resida. With millstones. Pandarus. And Cassandra laughed. Chapter 100, Resida. But there was a more temperate fire under the pot of her eyes. Did her eyes run o'er too? Pandarus. And Hector laughed. Chapter 100, Resida. At what was all this laughing? Pandarus. Chapter 1000, Awry at the white hair that Helen spied on Troilus' chin. Chapter 100, Resida. Ant had been a green hair, I should have laughed too. Pandarus. They laughed not so much at the hair as at his pretty answer. Chapter 100, Resida. What was his answer? Pandarus. Quoth she, here s but 52 hairs on your chin, and one of them is white. Chapter 100, Resida. This is her question. Pandarus. That's true, make no question of that. 52 hairs, quoth he, and one white. That white hair is my father, and all the rest are his sons. Jupiter, quoth she, which of these hairs is Paris my husband? The forked one, quoth he, plucked out and give it him. But there was such laughing, and Helen so blushed, and Paris so chaffed, and all the rest so laughed that it passed. Chapter 100, Resida. So let it now, for it has been a great while going by. Pandarus. Well, cousin, I told you a thing yesterday, think on't. Chapter 100, Resida. So I do. Pandarus. Chapter 1, I'll be sworn 'tis true, he will weep you, and twere a man born in April. Chapter 100, Resida. And I'll spring up in his tears, and twere a nettle against May. Sound a retreat. Pandarus. Hark, they're coming from the field. Shall we stand up here and see them as they pass toward Ilium? Good niece, do, sweet niece Cressida. Chapter 100, Resida. At your pleasure. Pandarus. Here's an excellent place. Here we may see most bravely. I'll tell you them all by their names as they pass by, but mark Troilus above the rest. Chapter 100, Resida. Speak not so loud. Pandarus. That's Aeneas, is not that a brave man? He's one of the flowers of Troy, I can tell you, but mark Troilus you shall see anon. Chapter 100, Resida. Who's that? Pandarus. That's Antenor. He has a shrewd wit, I can tell you, and he's a man good enough. He's one o.th soundest judgments in Troy, whosoever, and a proper man of person. When comes Troilus, I'll show you Troilus anon. If he see me, you shall see him nod at me. Chapter 100, Resida. Will he give you the nod? Pandarus. You shall see. Chapter 100, Resida. Chapter 1, If he do, the rich shall have more. Pandarus. That's Hector that look you that, there's a fellow, go thy way Hector, there's a brave man niece, oh brave Hector, look how he looks, there's a countenance, is not a brave man. Chapter 100, Resida. Oh, a brave man. Pandarus. Chapter 1, a not, it does a man's heart good, look you what hacks are on his helmet, look you yonder, do you see? Look you there, there's no jesting, there's laying on, taked off who will, as they say, there be hacks. Chapter 100, Resida. Be those with swords. Pandarus. Swords, anything, he cares not, and the devil come to him, it's all one. By God's lid, it does one's heart good. Yonder comes Paris, yonder comes Paris. Chapter 50. Uki yonder, niece, is not a gallant man too, is not? Why, this is brave now. Who said he came hurt home today? He's not hurt. Why, this will do Helen's heart good now, ha? Would I could see Troilus now? You shall see Troilus anon. Chapter 100, Resida. Who's that? Pandarus. That's Helenus, I marvel where Troilus is, that's. Helenus, I think he went not forth today, that's Helenus. Chapter 100, Resida. Chapter 100, and Helenus fight uncle. Pandarus. Helenus, no, yes, he'll fight indifferent well. I marvel where Troilus is. Hark, do you not hear the people cry Troilus? Helenus is a priest. Chapter 100, Resida. What sneaking fellow comes yonder? Pandarus. Where, yonder, that's Deiphobus. 'Tis Troilus, there's a man niece, brave Troilus, the prince of chivalry. Chapter 100, Resida. Peace for shame, peace. Pandarus. Chapter 1000, Ark him, note him. O brave Troilus, look well upon him, niece, look you how his sword is bloodied and his helm more hacked than Hector's, and how he looks and how he goes. O admirable youth, he never saw 23. Go thy way, Troilus, go thy way. Had I sister were a grace or a daughter a goddess, he should take his choice. O admirable man, Paris? Paris is dirt to him, and I warrant Helen to change would give an eye to boot. Chapter 100, Resida. Here comes more. Common soldiers pass. Pandarus. Asses, fools, dolts, chaff and bran, porridge after meat, I could live and die in the eyes of Troilus. Ne'er look, the eagles are gone. crows and daws, crows and daws. I had rather be such a man as Troilus than Agamemnon and all Greece. Chapter 100, Retelling. There is amongst the Greeks Achilles, a better man than Troilus. Pandarus. Achilles, a drayman, a porter, a very camel. Chapter 100, Retelling. Wells well. Pandarus. Well, why have you any discretion? Have you any eyes? Do you know what a man is? Is not birth, beauty, good shape, discourse, manhood, learning, gentleness, virtue, youth, liberality, and such like, the spice and salt that season a man? Chapter 100, Retelling. I, a minked man, and then to be backed with no date in the pie, for then the man's date is out. Pandarus. You are such a woman, a man knows not at what ward you lie. Chapter 100, Retelling. Upon my back to defend my belly, upon my wit to defend my wiles, upon my secrecy to defend mine honesty, my mask to defend my beauty, and you to defend all these, and at all these wards I lie at 1,000 watches. Pandarus. Say one of your watches. Chapter 100, Retelling. Nay, I'll watch you for that, and that's one of the chiefest of them too. If I cannot ward what I would not have hit, I can watch you for telling how I took the blow, unless it's well past hiding, and then it's past watching. Pandarus. You are such another. Enter Troilus boy. Boy. Sir, my lord would instantly speak with you. Pandarus. Where? Boy. At your own house, there he unarms him. Pandarus. Good boy, tell him I come, I doubt he be hurt, fare ye well, good niece. Chapter 100, Retelling. Adieu, uncle. Pandarus. Chapter 1, will be with you, niece, by and by. Chapter 100, Retelling. To bring, uncle. Pandarus. I, a token from Troilus. Chapter 100, Retelling. By the same token, you are a bawd. Words, vows, gifts, tears, and love's full sacrifice. He offers in another's enterprise. But more in Troilus thousandfold I see. Then in the glass of Pandar's praise may be. Yet hold I off, women are angels wooing. Things one are done, joy's soul lies in the doing. That she beloved knows not that knows not this. Chapter 1000, prize the thing ungained more than it is. That she was never yet that ever knew. Chapter 50, Ove got so sweet as when desire did sue. Therefore this maxim out of love I teach. Achievement is command, ungained beseech. Then though my heart's content firm love doth bear, nothing of that shall from mine eyes appear. Scene 3, the Grecian camp, before Agamemnon's tent. Senate, enter Agamemnon, Nestor, Ulysses, Diomedes, Menelaus, and others. Agamemnon. Princes. What grief hath set these jaundies o'er your cheeks? The ample proposition that hope makes. Chapter 1, and all designs begun on earth below. Fails in the promised largeness, checks and disasters. Grow in the veins of actions highest reared. As knots by the conflux of meeting sap. Chapter 1, infects the sound pine and diverts his grain. Tortive and errant from his course of growth. Nor, princes, is it matter new to us, that we come short of our suppose so far, that after 7 years see, yet Troy walls stand. Sith every action that hath gone before, whereof we have record, trial did draw. Bias and thwart not answering the aim. And that unbodied figure of the thought, that gave surmised shape, why then, you princes? Chapter 500, O you with cheeks abashed behold our works, and call them shames, which are indeed not else, but the protractive trials of great Jove, to find persistive constancy in men, the fineness of which metal is not found. Chapter 1 End Fortune's Love, for then the bold and coward. The wise and fool, the artist and unread. The hard and soft seem all affind and kin. But in the wind and tempest of her frown. Chapter 501 Stinction with a broad and powerful fan. Puffing at all, winnows the light away. In what hath mass or matter by itself? Chapter 51 Ease rich in virtue and unmingled. Nestor, with due observance of thy godlike seat, great Agamemnon, Nestor shall apply thy latest words in the reproof of chance. Chapter 51 Ease the true proof of men, the sea being smooth. How many shallow bauble boats dare sail upon her patient breast, making their way with those of nobler bulk? But let the ruffian Boreas once enrage the gentle Thetis, and anon behold the strong-ribbed bark through liquid mountains cut, bounding between the two moist elements. Chapter 51 Key Perseus' horse, where's then the saucy boat, whose weak untimbered sides but even now. Chapter 100 O rivaled greatness, either to harbor fled, or made a toast for Neptune, even so. Chapter 500 Oth valor's show and valor's worth divide. Chapter 1 End storms of fortune, for in her ray and brightness the herd hath more annoyance by the breeze than by the tiger, but when the splitting wind. Chapter 1000 Aches flexible the knees of knotted oaks, and flies fled under shade, why then the thing of courage? As roused with rage doth sympathize, and with an accent tunned in self-same key, retorts to chiding fortune. Ulysses. Agamemnon, thou great commander, nerve and bone of Greece, heart of our numbers, soul and only spirit. Chapter 1 In whom the tempers and the minds of all should be shut up, hear what Ulysses speaks. Besides applause and approbation, the which, most mighty, for thy place and sway, and thou most reverend, for thy stretched out life. Chapter 1 Give to both your speeches, which were such as Agamemnon and the hand of Greece should hold up high in brass, and such again as venerable Nestor, hatched in silver, should with a bond of air, strong as the axle tree, on which heaven rides, knit all the Greekish ears to his experienced tongue, yet let it please both. Thou great and wise, to hear Ulysses speak. Agamemnon, speak, prince of Ithaca, and bet of less expect that matter needless of importless burden. Chapter 1003 thy lips, then we are confident. When rank Thersites opes his mastic jaws, we shall hear music, wit, and oracle. Ulysses. Troy, yet upon his basis, had been down, and the great Hector's sword had lacked a master. But for these instances, the specialty of rule hath been neglected. And look how many Grecian tents do stand hollow upon this plain, so many hollow factions. When that the general is not like the hive, to whom the foragers shall all repair. What honey is expected, degree being visited. Unworthiest shows as fairly in the mask. The heavens themselves, the planets, and this center. Observe degree, priority, and place. Chapter 1 Sister, course, proportion, season, form, office, and custom, in all line of order. And therefore is the glorious planet Sol. Chapter 1 Noble eminence enthroned and sphered amidst the other, whose medicinable eye. Chapter 100 Oryx, the influence of evil planets, and posts like the commandment of a king. Sans check to good and bad, but when the planets. Chapter 1 Evil mixture to disorder wander. What plagues and what portents, what mutiny. What raging of the sea, shaking of earth. Chapter 100 A motion in the winds, frights, changes, horrors. Chapter 504 and crack, rend and deracinate, the unity and married calm of states. Quite from their fixture, oh, when degree is shacked. Which is the ladder of all high designs. The enterprise is sick, how could communities? Chapter 500, Egries in schools and brotherhoods in cities. Peaceful commerce from dividable shores. The primogenity and due of births. Prerogative of age, crowns, scepters, laurels. But by degree stand in authentic place. Take but degree away, untune that string. And hark what discord follows, each thing melts. Chapter 1, En mere repugnancy, the bounded waters. Should lift their bosoms higher than the shores. And make a sop of all this solid globe. Strength should be lord of imbecility. And the rude son should strike his father dead. Force should be right, or rather right and wrong. Between whose endless jarred justice resides. Should lose their names, and so should justice too. Then everything includes itself in power. Power into will into appetite. And appetite an universal wolf. So doubly seconded with will and power. Chapter 1000, Ust make perforce an universal prey. And last eat up himself, great Agamemnon. This chaos, when degree is suffocate, follows the choking. And this negulction of degree it is, that by a pace goes backward with a purpose. Chapter 1, T hath to climb the generals. By him one step below, he by the next. That next by him beneath, so every step. Exampled by the first pace that is sick. Of his superior, grows to an envious fever. Of pale and bloodless emulation. And 'tis this fever that keeps Troy on foot. Not her own sinews, to end a tale of length. Troy in our weakness stands, not in her strength. Nestor. Chapter 1000, Ost wisely hath Ulysses here discovered. The fever whereof all our power is sick. Agamemnon. The nature of the sickness found, Ulysses. What is the remedy? Ulysses. The great Achilles, whom opinion crowns. The sinew and the forehand of our host. Having his ear full of his airy fame. Grows dainty of his worth and in his tent. Chapter 51, Ease mocking our designs with him Patroclus. Upon a lazy bed the livelong day. Break scurril jests. And with ridiculous and awkward action. Which slanderer he imitation calls. He pageants us, sometime great Agamemnon. Thy topless deputation he puts on. And like a strutting player whose conceit. Chapter 51, Ease in his hamstring and doth think it rich. To hear the wooden dialogue and sound. Twixt his stretched footing and the scaffoldage. Such to be pitied and o'er-rested seeming. He acts thy greatness in, and when he speaks. Tease like a chime amending, with terms unsquared. Which, from the tongue of roaring Typhon dropped. Would seem hyperboles, at this fusty stuff. The large Achilles, on his pressed bed lolling. From his deep chest laughs out a loud applause. Chapter 100, Rise excellent, tease Agamemnon right. Now play me Nestor, hem and stroke thy beard. As he being dressed to some oration. That's done, as near as the extremest ends. Of parallels, as like as Vulcan and his wife. Yet God Achilles still cries, excellent. Tease Nestor right, now play him me Patroclus. Arming to answer in a night alarm. And then, forsooth, the faint defects of aid. Chapter 1000, Ust be the scene of mirth, to cough and spit. And, with a palsy fumbling on his gorget. Shake in and out the rivet, and at this sport. Sir Valor dies, cries oh enough Patroclus. Or give me ribs of steel, I shall split all. Chapter 1, End pleasure of my spleen, and in this fashion. All our abilities, gifts, natures, shapes. Severals and generals of grace exact. Achievements, plots, orders, preventions. excitements to the field or speech for truce. Success or loss, what is or is not serves. As stuff for these two to make paradoxes. Nestor. And in the imitation of these twain, who, as Ulysses says, opinion crowns. With an imperial voice, many are infect. Ajax is grown self-willed and bears his head. Chapter 1, and such a reign in full as proud a place. As broad Achilles keeps his tent like him. Chapter 1000, aches factious feasts, rails on our state of war. Bold as an oracle and sets their sights. A slave whose gall coins slanders like a mint. To match us in comparisons with dirt. To weaken and discredit our exposure. How rank soever rounded in with danger. Ulysses. They tax our policy and call it cowardice. Chapter 100, out wisdom as no member of the war. Forestall prescience and esteem no act. But that of hand, the still and mental parts. That do contrive how many hands shall strike. When fitness calls them on, and know, by measure. Of their observant toil, the enemy's weight. Why, this hath not a finger's dignity. They call this bed work, mappery, closet war. So that the ram that batters down the wall. For the great swinge and rudeness of his poise, they place before his hand that made the engine. Or those that with the fineness of their souls, by reason guide his execution. Nestor. Chapter 50, et this be granted and Achilles' horse. Chapter 1000, Agamemnon's sons. Agamemnon. What trumpet, look Menelaus. Chapter 1000, Aeneas. From Troy. Enter Aeneas. Agamemnon. What would you for our tent? Aeneas. Chapter 1, this great Agamemnon's tent, I pray you. Agamemnon. Even this. Aeneas. Chapter 1000, I one that is a herald and a prince. Chapter 500, oh a fair message to his kingly eyes. Agamemnon. With surety stronger than Achilles' arm. For all the Greekish heads which with one voice. Chapter 100, all Agamemnon head in general. Aeneas. Fair leave and large security, how may? A stranger to those most imperial looks. Know them from eyes of other mortals. Agamemnon. So. Aeneas. Lie. Chapter 1, ask that I might waken reverence. And bid the cheek be ready with a blush. Chapter 1000, oldest as morning when she coldly eyes. The youthful Phoebus. Which is that god in office guiding men? Which is the high and mighty Agamemnon? Agamemnon. This Trojan scorns us, or the men of Troy. Our ceremonious courtiers. Aeneas. Chapter 100, our tears as free as debonair unarmed. As bending angels, that's their fame and peace. But when they would seem soldiers, they have galls. Good arms, strong joints, true swords, and Jove's accord. Nothing so full of heart, but peace, Aeneas. Peace, Trojan, lay thy finger on thy lips. The worthiness of praise disdains his worth. Chapter 1, that the praised himself bring the praise forth. But what the repining enemy commends. That breath fame blows, that praise soul pure transcends. Agamemnon. Sir, you of Troy, call you yourself Aeneas. Aeneas. I, Greek, that is my name. Agamemnon. What's your affairs, I pray you? Aeneas. Sir, pardon, tease for Agamemnon's ears. Agamemnon. He hears not privately that comes from Troy. Aeneas. Nor I from Troy come not to whisper with him. Chapter 1, bring a trumpet to awake his ear. To set his sense on the attentive bent. And then to speak. Agamemnon. Speak frankly as the wind. Chapter 1. Tea is not Agamemnon's sleeping hour. That thou shalt know, Trojan, he is awake. He tells thee so himself. Aeneas. Trumpet, blow loud. Send thy brass voice through all these lazy tents. And every Greek of metal, let him know. What Troy means fairly shall be spoke aloud. We have great Agamemnon here in Troy. A prince called Hector, Priam is his father. Who in this dull and long-continued truce? Chapter 1, Esrastai groan, he bade me take a trumpet. And to this purpose speak, kings, princes, lords. Chapter 1, If there be one among the fairest of Greece. That holds his honor higher than his ease. That feeds his praise more than he fears his peril. That knows his valor and knows not his fear. That loves his mistress more than in confession. With truant vows to her own lips he loves. And dare avow her beauty and her worth. Chapter 1, and other arms than hers to him this challenge. Hector, in view of Trojans and of Greeks, shall make it good or do his best to do it. He hath a lady wiser, fairer, truer than ever Greek did couple in his arms, and will tomorrow with his trumpet call. Chapter 1499. Way between your tents and walls of Troy. To rouse a Grecian that is true in love. Chapter 1. If any come, Hector shall honor him. Chapter 1. If none, he'll say in Troy when he retires. The Grecian dames are sunburnt and not worth the splinter of a lance, even so much. Agamemnon. This shall be told our lovers, Lord Aeneas. Chapter 1. If none of them have soul in such a kind. We left them all at home, but we are soldiers. And may that soldier a mere recreant prove. That means not, hath not, or is not in love. Chapter 1. If then one is, or hath, or means to be. That one meets Hector, if none else I am he. Nestor. Tell him of Nestor, one that was a man. When Hector's grandsire sucked, he is old now. But if there be not in our Grecian host a noble man that hath one spark of fire, to answer for his love, tell him from me. Chapter 1. I'll hide my silver beard in a gold beaver, and in my vambrace put this withered bronze. And meeting him, will tell him that my lady was fairer than his grandam and as chaste as may be in the world, his youth in flood. Chapter 1. I'll prove this troth with my 3 drops of blood. Aeneas. Now heavens forfend such scarcity of youth. Ulysses. Agamemnon. Agamemnon. Fair Lord Aeneas, let me touch your hand. To our pavilion shall I lead you, sir. Achilles shall have word of this intent. So shall each lord of Greece from tent to tent. Yourself shall feast with us before you go, and find the welcome of a noble foe. Exeunt all but Ulysses and Nestor. Ulysses. Nestor. Nestor. What says Ulysses? Ulysses. Chapter 1. Have a young conception in my brain. Be you my time to bring it to some shape. Nestor. What is't? Ulysses. This tease. Blunt wedges rive hard knots, the seated pride that hath to this maturity blown up. Chapter 1. En rank Achilles must or now be cropped, or, shedding, breed a nursery of like evil. To overbulk us all. Nestor. Well, and how? Ulysses. This challenge that the gallant Hector sends, however it is spread in general name, relates in purpose only to Achilles. Nestor. True, the purpose is perspicuous even as substance, whose grossness little characters sum up, and in the publication make no strain. But that Achilles were his brain as barren as banks of Libya, though Apollo knows. Teas dry enough will with great speed of judgment. I with celerity find Hector's purpose. Pointing on him, Ulysses, and wake him to the answer, think you. Nestor, why tease most meet, who may you else oppose? That can from Hector bring those honors off. Chapter 1, F not Achilles, though tea be a sportful combat. Yet in this trial much opinion dwells. For here the Trojans taste our dearsty repute. With their finsty palate, and trust to me, Ulysses, our imputation shall be oddly poid. Chapter 1, in this vile action, for the success, although particular, shall give a scantling of good or bad unto the general. And in such indexes, although small pricks, to their subsequent volumes there is seen the baby figure of the giant mass. Of things to come at large, it is supposed, he that meets Hector issues from our choice, and choice being mutual act of all our souls. Chapter 1000, aches merit her election and doth boil. As twere from forth us all, a man distilled. Out of our virtues, who miscarrying, what heart receives from hence a conquering part, to steal a strong opinion to themselves, which entertained, limbs are his instruments. Chapter 1, and no less working than our swords and bows. Chapter 501, rective by the limbs. Ulysses, give pardon to my speech, therefore tease meet. Achilles meet not Hector, let us like merchants first show foul wares, and think perchance they'll sell. Chapter 1, F not, the luster of the better shall exceed. By showing the worse first, do not consent that ever Hector and Achilles meet. For both our honor and our shame in this are dogged with two strange followers.